Hi, I'm Phyllis from southernfrugal.com. I'm going to make some Nestle Toll House cookies, and now I'm going to use the milk chocolate little morsels. The original recipe, well, first of all, back then they didn't even have the milk chocolate, and I do like the milk chocolate better than the deeper chocolate. But anyway, we're going to make the original recipe just using the little milk chocolate. Now, I got to tell you a story. Some of my little morsels are gone, and the reason they are is because I looked at some videos a couple of weeks ago on making the cookie in a cup. I don't know if some of y'all have seen it or not, but cookie in a cup, and you make it in the microwave. So one night, I think it's been about 2 weeks ago, I thought, boy, I really want something sweet. And so I decided to make some for me and my husband. And I looked at several of the recipes and kind of picked the one I thought sounded like it would be the best. And I cooked them. But they were terrible. They were really terrible. And the reason I thought they were terrible is because I know what the original Toll House cookies taste like. And of course they don't get brown in the microwave, but the only thing that even remotely saved them were these little chocolate morsels. I kind of picked those out, and I had put a few nuts in mine, and I kind of picked those out. My husband didn't like it at all. So anyway, it occurred to me that maybe some of you younger ladies have never made Toll House cookies, because you can get the chocolate chip cookies, in bakeries, and a lot of restaurants, even fast foods, have a little cookie they serve. But to me, the original Toll House cookies are by far the best. And there's all kinds of history on that and everything. They used to make them by, cutting up the chocolate, because there were no little chocolate morsels then. And I first remember making them really, I guess, probably in the 60s. And I've been making them ever since. I do just absolutely love them. So anyway, we're going to do that today. The original recipe, the only thing that's going to be different is I'm going to cook mine on parchment paper on the cookie sheets. That's the only thing really different, and I'm using the milk chocolate. Now, if you want the absolute original Toll House cookies, you'll need to use that little darker chocolate. Okay, we're ready now. 2 sticks of butter, or 1 cup of butter softened. Now, I do mine in the microwave. I never ever remember to take the butter out to let it get at room temperature, so I have to end up putting it in the microwave. And I do that on defrost for 1 minute, and it works pretty good. All right, so 1 cup of butter. To that, I'm going to add 3/4 of a cup of light brown sugar. Now, when you measure this, I just do it in my little 1/4 cup measuring. Just pack it down, because you want it packed. All right, and we're going to add 3/4 a cup of just regular white sugar. And kind of just get that mixed in a little bit. Now, you won't really be using a hand mixer or electric mixer on this. You just really, need to mix it up by hand, and just, use a little spatula. Okay, now let's kind of incorporate it a little bit with the butter. Now, I'm going to add 1 teaspoon of salt. Now, the recipe calls for 1 teaspoon, but I really put about 3/4 of a teaspoon. Just kind of mix that salt all in. And I will show you this recipe at the end of the video, or at some point during the video, but let me point out the recipe is on the back of the pack. Now, years ago, they actually had these little packs of the morsels, they didn't have the original recipe. Boy, was I upset by that, because I never really memorized the recipe. So finally I found one that had the recipe on it, and I cut it out and saved it. So anyway, now we're going to add in our eggs, and you want to do those sort of one at a time. Now these are, when you crack the eggs and go ahead and put them in a bowl, they get to room temperature a lot faster than if you leave them in the shells. So we're going to add, this is a large egg, or 2 large eggs. So we're going to add that in. It'll get a little easier to mix it together now. Now the thing that probably takes the most time is just getting your ingredients together, measuring out everything. And again, that cookie in the cup thing, I gotta tell you, I was really disappointed, because I was really very much wanting something really good and really sweet, and I really thought, that was going to be it. And I don't know if any of y'all have tried that, but there must be some trick to it, because it sure didn't turn out good for us. All right, now we're ready for the second egg. Just mix that in as best you can. Now at this point you could probably use a little whisk on it if you wanted to. In fact, let me try that. Oops, sorry. Just use a little whisk on it and see how that works. Yeah, that works a lot better. And of course that won't work until you get that second egg in. Alright, that's probably good enough. Now, my other teaspoon measure is dirty in the dishwasher. This is 1 teaspoon of baking powder. No, excuse me, baking soda. I don't know why I do that. It's baking soda. Let me just get this out to make a strong impression on you. Baking soda. This is baking powder. You want baking soda. So I'm going to go ahead and just dump that in this little bowl for now, so I can measure out my vanilla extract. You want pure vanilla extract. You want 1 teaspoon of that. Just mix that in there. Okay, now I'm not going to be able to use the whisk anymore because I'm getting ready to put the flour in. Alright, now this is 2 1/4 cups of all-purpose flour that's been sifted and then measured, and I actually then just sifted again. To this you want to add 1 teaspoon of baking soda. Get a little spoon to mix that around. Just going to mix that around in the flour. Now this is King Arthur all-purpose flour, and it's unbleached. And I don't really think the King Arthur has any preservatives in it. Alright, so we're going to start mixing that in. I will pour about 1/3 of it in. And just use your spatula and mix it around. Anyway, I want to go back to that cookie in the cup. I can't even begin to tell you how disappointed I was. It was like about 8 o'clock at night. I think we were maybe watching a movie, and they said you could fix it in like 1 minute, and I was just sure it was going to work out, but it didn't, so I was very disappointed. Okay, one more third of it in. And by the way, I really appreciate it when y'all make comments on my videos. You know, that lets me know somebody's out there watching them. And really, that kind of encourages me to make more videos. I have been cooking for many, many years, and I do like good food, so I just keep working on a recipe usually until I think it's really, really good. And of course, sometimes I use the original recipe, like this one is just a super recipe. Alright, now it gets a little harder to mix this flour in now. So this is your basic cookie dough right here. Alright, now you can still see some flour all around in there. And that's okay, because we're going to do a little more mixing. Alright, now we're going to dump in our morsels. Again, I had used a little bit out of this pack for that cookie in the cup thing. So I'm going to dump all the morsels in. And that is, let me show that to you. That's an 11.5 ounce Nestle Toll House morsels, and I use the milk chocolate. I think most people use the darker chocolate, but I like the milk chocolate. This is 1 cup of pecans, and these are just broken into pieces. And now we're just going to mix all that in. Now this is going to make 5 dozen cookies, and what I do is go ahead and I've got my oven preheated to 375 degrees, and these cookies have to cook from 9 to 11 minutes. Now the original Toll House cookies are going to puff up in the oven, and then they're going to fall back a little bit. Now that's the original. That's the, you know, it's not a solid cookie. They're going to be a little crunchy on the outside, and then a little, maybe, I wouldn't say gooey, but soft on the inside. Alright, I think we've just about got this ready. Now, used to, what we would do when we got to this point is put it in the refrigerator and let it cool a little bit. But as I've gotten older, I just have absolutely no patience for that. I mean, if I'm going to cook it, I'm going to cook it now, you know? So, okay. Now again, you know, the original recipe says to put the cookies on an ungreased cookie sheet, but I really like to use the parchment paper, and I like to use it because I don't have to, you know, have any trouble getting them out of the pan. Now, the original recipe says to drop a rounded tablespoon, so you can see that, onto the cookie sheet. And just, you know, don't really mash them down. You want to leave them, you know, piled up, because they're going to spread out. And my daughter-in-law, they're in Germany now, my son and daughter-in-law and the children, and I remember when we used to go down to Edisto Beach at Edisto Island, and we usually spent a week down there, and she had this thing for, I think it was the Pillsbury refrigerator cookies that you cut off in little sections and cook them. And I remember they didn't have nuts in them, but they were pretty good. But she was pretty well addicted to those things, I think, and she loved them. So I'm hoping that she's going to watch this video and that she will try making these cookies. So Arlene, I really hope you'll try these. Now, I'm going to go ahead and put these in the oven at 375 degrees. I'll be right straight back. Now I've set my timer for 10 minutes. So the original recipe says to cook for 9 to 11 minutes. So I've just set the timer for 10. Now here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and put the next batch on here. And so when I take those cookies out, while I've still got the oven door open, I put these in. And again, you want to put them a rounded tablespoon. In fact, see, these look like they're going to be a little bigger. And sometimes, you know, they might cook together. It doesn't matter. They're so good, you really don't care what they look like. And I know that you older ladies that sometimes watch my videos, I know you have made these cookies probably many, many times. So, okay. Alright, so we'll be back when the first batch is done. Okay, the first batch of the Nestle Toll House cookies are ready. Now I want you to look real close because they puffed up and then they kind of fall back a little bit. Now if any of them go together like a couple of mine did, all you have to do is just take a spatula, just do like this. Just kind of go back and forth. That'll separate them. Now you want to leave them on the cookie sheet for 2 minutes because they're actually going to cook just a little more while they're still on the hot cookie sheet. And after you've waited for 2 minutes, first of all, they'll come off the little paper a lot easier if you wait. And then we're going to transfer them to the cooling rack. So I've already put my next batch in, and once we get all these cooked, we'll be back. Alright, I'm close to the end of my cookie baking. You might notice some of the cookies are gone. Yeah, my husband had a couple of them. He says they're absolutely delicious, and I agree. I wanted to show you what I do with these. Of course, it's just the two of us here, and you know, I like them when they're really fresh. So I put these in a little, this is a earthbound salad container. I use these all the time. And I'm just going to put them in here and I'm going to freeze them. And when we get ready to have 2 or 3 of them a piece, what I'll do is simply take them out and just put them in the little toaster oven, just enough to, you know, thaw them out and heat them up a little bit, and they'll be good as new. Alright, now this next batch, I just took these out of the oven, and I wanted to get up close and hope you can see this. What makes these cookies different, really, from most all other cookies is, you see the little wrinkles in them? Can you see that? They puff up and then they fall back. So that makes them crispy on the outside and chewy on the inside, which I absolutely love. So they're like a moist cookie. Now, you always want to leave them sitting on the little cookie sheet for about 2 minutes, and then take them up and put them on your little cooling rack. Now these cookies are super good when they're warm. And of course, you'll need a big glass of milk with them. And I do just reuse my parchment paper when I make these cookies, because they do come right off. Okay, there you have it. I guess I'm going to have to break one open and let you look at it. Let me pick one here. All right, that one's still hot. In fact, it's too hot to pick up. Here's one. Just break it in two. See how it bends? I'll have to take a bite. So, so delicious. That's what they look like. I hope you'll try these. And I do realize that some of my older viewers probably made these cookies from the time they were in, you know, even junior high school, taking home ec, because that's where I remember first having the Toll House cookies. And from the very first time I tasted one. They were so, so delicious. I'll see you next time. Got to get me some milk. Bye. Okay, here's the Nestle Toll House cookie recipe. And there are the instructions on how to cook them. Now it says it makes 5 dozen. I guess I make mine a little bit bigger than what they're recommending. Again, here's the recipe. Bake them at 375 degrees for 9 to 11 minutes. Now, mine, I actually baked them 11 minutes. But you just want to check them certainly after 9 minutes. There we go. And again, you can find this recipe currently on the back of the Nestle Toll House milk chocolate morsels. And I'm not sure if the recipe is on the darker chocolate or not, but I know it's on this one. And if I would caution you on anything at all, it would be to make sure you let them sit for 2 minutes on the sheet where that you baked them in after you take them out of the oven, because they do, that does change things. And they will also come loose either from the cookie sheet or the parchment paper. Now you can bake them on, a cookie sheet. Just make sure it's an ungreased cookie sheet. All right. See you next time.